The road was silent except for the steady hum of the engine. A single vehicle moved through the night, its headlights cutting into the darkness. Inside the car sat a human driver and an alien girl, two beings from different worlds, sharing the same uncertain journey. The alien girl sat stiffly in the passenger seat. Her body was tense, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She dared not move, dared not speak. Her wide eyes stared out the window, but she was not looking at the stars or the dark trees rushing past. She was lost in her own fear. She believed the human was taking her to her death. All her life she had been told stories about humans. On her homeworld, the elders whispered warnings. Humans are dangerous. Humans are liars. Humans cannot be trusted. She had believed those words because they were spoken with such certainty, and now, trapped in this vehicle with a human at the wheel, those warnings echoed in her mind like a curse. Every mile they traveled made her chest feel tighter. Every turn of the wheel felt like another step toward her end. She glanced at the human, and her heart pounded faster. He looked calm, focused on the road, his hands steady on the steering wheel. But to her frightened eyes, that calmness felt wrong. It felt like the calmness of a hunter waiting for the perfect moment to strike. She wondered if he could hear her heartbeat. It was so loud in her chest, like drums of war. Her breathing came quick and shallow. She tried to steady herself, but her fear grew stronger with each second. The silence between them was heavy. The human did not speak. He did not explain where they were going or why. To the alien girl, that silence was unbearable. It felt like proof that he was hiding something. She imagined him driving her to a secret place, a hidden camp where humans would be waiting to end her life. Her mind was full of images she did not want to see. Humans standing in shadows, their faces cold, their eyes sharp, their hands ready, with weapons. She could almost feel their grip on her arms dragging her away. She could almost hear their voices calling her weak, foolish alien. The girl's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back. She did not want the human to see her weakness. She clenched her fist tightly in her lap, her nails pressing into her palms. Fear turned into anger. If he tries to hurt me, she thought, I will not go quietly. The road stretched on, long and endless. The night outside felt alive, pressing close against the windows. Every shadow looked like danger. Every sound made her flinch. A branch cracked in the forest and her whole body jumped. The human did not even react. His eyes stayed forward, his jaw set. He drove on as if nothing mattered except the road ahead. The alien girl studied his face. The glow from the dashboard lit his features faintly. His expression was unreadable. Was that kindness in his eyes? Or was it coldness? Was he protecting her? Or preparing her for betrayal? She could not tell. The not knowing was worse than death itself. She wanted to ask him. She wanted to scream, "Where are you taking me? What do you want from me?" But her voice was trapped inside her throat. Fear chained her words. If she asked, she thought, maybe he would finally admit the truth. And she was not ready to hear it. Instead, she sat in silence. Her eyes darted to the door handle. Could she escape? Could she jump out and run into the forest? But where would she go? The night outside looked endless, and humans knew this world better than she did. If she ran, maybe he would chase her. Maybe others would be waiting. She had no way to win. Her chest ached with hopelessness. She felt small, weak, powerless. She had survived battles before, but this was different. This was not a fight of weapons. This was a fight of trust, and she had none left to give. The human cleared his throat once. The sound startled her, as if a gun had gone off, but he only shifted his grip on the wheel. His eyes flicked to her for a second, then back to the road. That small glance made her shiver. She thought she saw something in his eyes, a softness, a weight, maybe even sadness. But she could not trust her own eyes. Her fear turned every expression into a mask. The night stretched longer. The silence grew heavier. And the alien girl's fear wrapped tighter around her heart. She thought of her family back home. She thought of the warnings her mother had given her. Never trust a human. They will smile while they lead you to your death. A single tear slid down her cheek, though she quickly wiped it away. She could not let the human see her cry. The car sped on, the headlights carved through the darkness. The alien girl sat frozen, her thoughts a storm of fear and doubt. In her mind, the end was already written. She was being taken to her death. And the human beside her was the one leading her there. But what she did not know, what she could not imagine, was that the human was risking everything, not to destroy her, but to protect her. The truth was hidden in his silence, and soon, the road ahead would reveal it. The alien girl's fear did not fade as the car rolled on. If anything, it grew heavier, pressing on her chest like a weight she could not lift. The silence between her and the human driver was sharp, cutting deeper than any blade. She tried to sit still, but her mind was restless, full of questions and shadows. Every time the human's hand moved on the steering wheel, she flinched. Every time he looked into the mirror, her heart raced. To her, even the smallest action felt like a secret sign. Was he checking if she was still in her seat? Was he watching for the moment she tried to escape? She could not tell. The human's face was calm. Too calm. His eyes stayed fixed on the road, his lips pressed in a firm line. To the alien girl, that calmness looked dangerous. It reminded her of a predator, patient and waiting, never showing its claws until the last moment. Why does he not speak, she thought. Why does he not tell me where we are going? The silence felt like a trap, as if words themselves might give away the lie he carried. Her imagination painted pictures in her mind, dark roads leading to cages, hidden bases where humans kept their enemies, cold lights above her as they studied her like an experiment. She could almost smell the metal of chains, feel the rough grip of human hands pulling her away. She shook her head, but the images would not leave. The girl shifted in her seat, careful not to draw his attention. She looked at the door again. Freedom was only one handle away, but freedom was also death. If she ran into the night, she would be lost. If he chased her, she would not escape. And if others were waiting, she would fall straight into their arms. The car made a turn. The trees outside grew thicker, their shadows stretching long fingers across the road. The alien girl's breathing quickened. Darker paths meant fewer witnesses. Fewer witnesses meant danger. She glanced at the human again. His jaw tightened as he leaned forward, scanning the road. His hands were firm, his grip strong. He looked like a soldier. She hated that thought. Soldiers did not take passengers to safety. Soldiers carried orders, and orders usually meant blood. The human's eyes flicked to her for a second. That single look made her body stiffen. His gaze was not cold, not sharp, but she refused to believe it could be kind. No human can be kind, she reminded herself. Not when the end is so close. Still, something in his eyes unsettled her. It was not cruelty. It was not hatred. It was something she could not name. A heaviness, perhaps. Or maybe sorrow. But why would a human feel sorrow when she was the one in danger? The alien girl turned her face away quickly, pretending to study the night sky outside. But the stars did not comfort her. They seemed far, too far to reach. Her home was among those stars, and yet here she was, trapped on a road with a human, moving farther and farther from everything she knew. Her thoughts spun in circles. What if he is only pretending to protect me? What if he is waiting for the perfect place to hand me over? That idea grew like poison in her mind. She pictured him, meeting others at the end of the road. She saw him smiling as he received his reward. She saw herself dragged away screaming while he turned his back without regret. Her fists clenched. She wanted to fight, but fight what? The enemy outside or the human inside the car? She could not decide. The silence was unbearable now. She could not keep her words inside any longer. Her lips parted and a shaky whisper escaped. Where are you taking me?" The human did not answer right away. His eyes stayed on the road, his face unreadable. Seconds stretched into years for the alien girl. Her heart thudded like thunder in her chest. Finally, the human spoke. His voice was low, steady. Someplace safe. Safe. The word felt strange, on her ears, almost bitter. Safe for whom, she thought. Safe for her, or safe for him to betray her? She wanted to believe him, but the word sounded like a lie. Her suspicion only deepened. She studied his face again, searching for cracks. Was there a smirk hiding at the corner of his mouth? Was there a spark of cruelty in his eyes? She found nothing, and that frightened her even more. A perfect mask was worse than an open threat. The road grew narrower, twisting through shadows. The alien girl's hands shook in her lap. She was certain now, the end was close. Yet a small piece of her heart hesitated. A tiny, fragile voice, inside whispered, "What if he means it? What if safe is real?" She tried to silence that voice, but it would not die. Suspicion and doubt warred inside her, louder than the engine. She could not trust him, but she could not let go of the small hope that maybe, just maybe, she was wrong. The car drove on into the night, carrying them deeper into the unknown, and, in the silence, the alien girl's fear sharpened into suspicion. Her suspicion sharpened into anger, and her anger sharpened into the only thing that kept her alive: distrust. But soon, the road ahead would test that distrust in ways she could not imagine. The road stretched endlessly, winding through forests and shadows, yet the silence inside the car felt even longer. The alien girl sat frozen in her seat, her eyes darting between the road ahead and the human driver beside her. His silence was unbearable. Every second without words felt like proof that he was hiding something, that every mile was leading her closer to betrayal. She wanted him to speak. She wanted him to explain. A single sentence, a single truth could end her torment. Yet he remained quiet, his jaw clenched, his focus sharp on the dark road ahead. Why did he not speak? Her heart beat wildly as she studied him in the glow of the dashboard. His face was calm, but too calm. His hands gripped the steering wheel with steady strength, knuckles pale under the pressure. His eyes never wavered, staring ahead like a soldier on a mission. That silence frightened her more than any threat. If he shouted, at least she would know his anger. If he laughed, at least she would know his cruelty. But this stillness, this wordless mask, it felt like the calm before a storm. The alien girl's suspicion grew sharper. In her mind, silence meant calculation. Silence meant planning. She imagined him rehearsing the moment he would stop the car. She pictured him waiting for the exact place where no one could hear her screams. Her imagination painted cruel pictures, and his silence gave them life. The girl shifted in her seat, her body tense, her hands trembling slightly. Her mind screamed at her, ask him again, demand the truth. But her throat closed whenever she tried. Her fear was a chain that held her voice prisoner. Meanwhile, the human kept driving. His eyes scanned the road, his breathing steady. But inside, his heart was heavy. He knew the alien beside him was afraid. He could feel the tension radiating from her body, see the way she pressed herself against the door as if ready to flee. He wanted to tell her the truth, that he was not her enemy, that he was risking everything for her safety. But he stayed silent. Why? Because words were dangerous. Words could be overheard. Words could betray their location if enemies were listening. And more than that, he feared she would not believe him. If he told her she was safe, her fear might twist his words into lies. If he told her the truth, she might only hear betrayal. So he held his tongue, hoping his actions would one day speak louder than anything he could say. But the alien girl could not know this. To her, his silence was a wall she could not climb. The car hit a bump in the road, and she flinched violently, her hands gripping the edge of the seat. The human glanced at her just for a moment, and something flickered in his eyes. Was it concern? Compassion? She thought she saw it, but she pushed the idea away. No, she told herself, do not believe what you want to see. Humans are masters of deception. The silence pressed harder. The sound of the tires on the road was the only noise, steady and endless, like a clock counting down. The alien girl's thoughts grew darker with each passing second. She remembered her mother's voice warning her, "A human's silence is more dangerous than his words." She remembered the stories told by the elders of her people, stories of humans who smiled as they betrayed, humans who waited silently until the knife could be driven deeper. Her chest tightened. She wanted to scream, to shatter the silence, to force him to reveal himself. But instead she sat still, her body stiff, her heart aching. The human silence became a battlefield. Every second without words made her feel weaker, smaller, closer to despair. And yet, somewhere deep inside her, a doubt lingered. What if the silence means something else, she wondered. What if he is not planning betrayal, but something I cannot understand? That thought was small, fragile, almost invisible. But it was there. The road narrowed, winding between tall trees. Shadows danced across the windshield like dark spirits. The alien girl's breathing grew shallow. She thought the end was near. She thought he would stop the car any moment now. But still the human did not speak. He tightened his grip on the wheel, his eyes sharp, his face calm. His silence was not empty. It was heavy, full of secrets, full of choices he had not yet made. To her, that silence was proof of betrayal. To him, it was protection. Two hearts, sitting side by side in the same car, living the same silence, but carrying two completely different truths. The alien girl closed her eyes for a moment, her fists clenched in her lap. If this is the end, she thought, I will face it with strength. The human glanced at her again. He saw her fear, but he said nothing. He kept driving, and the silence grew heavier, stretching longer, becoming a shadow that filled the car. A silence that would soon be broken, not by words, but by danger waiting ahead. The car sped down the lonely road, cutting through the forest like a small beam of light swallowed by endless shadows. For a long time there was nothing but silence and the steady hum of the engine. But then, something changed. The alien girl noticed it first. Her sharp eyes caught a flicker of movement in the trees. A shadow too quick, too sudden, as if something was running beside them. Her heart skipped. She leaned slightly toward the window, straining to see. At first she thought it was only her fear playing tricks, but then she saw it again. A figure moved between the trees, keeping pace with the car. Her chest tightened. They're here, the ones waiting for me. Her fear grew into certainty. She turned her head, scanning the forest. On the left side, more shadows appeared, shapes slipping between trunks, dark forms hidden by the night. They were not animals. Their movements were too sharp, too controlled. They were hunters. The alien girl's breath caught in her throat. She whispered, almost too softly to hear. They're here. The human driver's eyes narrowed. He had seen them too. His jaw tightened, his hands gripping the steering wheel harder. Without a word, he pressed his foot down, and the car surged forward. The sudden burst of speed made the alien girl grip the seat, her heart racing. But with every turn of the wheel, the danger grew closer. The shapes in the forest were moving faster now, keeping up, waiting for their chance. For the alien girl, it felt like her worst fear had come true. This was his plan all along, she thought bitterly. He brought me here to deliver me to them. Her eyes burned with panic. How could I have been so foolish to think otherwise? Her breathing turned quick and shallow, almost breaking into sobs. She glared at the human driver. This is it, isn't it? She hissed. You've led me to them. But the human didn't look at her. His eyes stayed locked on the road, his focus sharp, unshaken. He didn't answer, but his actions spoke louder. His grip tightened, his speed increased. He took a sharp turn that almost threw the car onto two wheels. The alien girl gasped, pressing herself against the door. She looked back through the rear window and froze. Headlights. Two more vehicles burst from the shadows, chasing them. Their engines roared like beasts, their lights burning through the darkness. The alien girl's heart dropped into her stomach. They were waiting for me. Her fear twisted into despair. She thought, He's delivering me to them right now. He's part of this. But then, something unexpected happened. The human driver slammed. His hand on the gear stick shifted hard and pressed the pedal to the floor. The car leapt forward like a bullet. His eyes narrowed, his jaw locked in determination. He wasn't slowing down. He wasn't stopping. He wasn't handing her over. The alien girl's confusion hit her like a wave. Why? Why would he run? If he was with them, he would have stopped. He would have let the pursuers take her. But he didn't. He was driving faster, sharper, like a man desperate to escape. Her breath caught. You're not with them? Still, he didn't answer. His silence was heavy, but now it felt different. Not cold, not cruel, focused, determined. The road twisted through the forest, narrow and dangerous. The human swerved with skill, avoiding branches, skidding on sharp turns. Behind them, the headlights stayed close, the hunters refusing to fall back. The alien girl pressed her hand against the dashboard, her whole body trembling. Her fear began to mix with something else. Doubt. Doubt about everything she believed. Doubt about the stories she had been told. The forest opened for a moment and she saw them clearly. Figures inside the chasing vehicles, their eyes glowing faintly, their faces twisted with hunger. These were not rescuers. These were hunters. And the human beside her was not delivering her, he was protecting her, but the danger was real. One of the pursuers pulled closer, the sound of their engine roaring in her ears. A shadow leaned out of the window, raising a weapon. The alien girl's eyes widened. She expected the human to panic, to slow down, to surrender. Instead, he swerved suddenly, forcing the enemy's car toward the ditch. The vehicle scraped, metal screeching against metal, sparks flying into the night. The alien girl screamed, clutching the seat. For a moment, it seemed like both cars would flip. But the human pulled free, the enemy spinning out before regaining control. The alien girl could hardly breathe. Her eyes darted to the human's face. He was calm, but his calmness was no longer terrifying. It was reassuring. His silence was no longer empty. It was powerful. Her fear did not vanish. But something new flickered inside her chest. A spark of trust. A spark of hope. Still, the danger was not over. The hunters were relentless. More shadows moved through the trees, keeping pace, waiting for their chance to strike. The alien girl knew this was only the beginning. But for the first time, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, the human driver was not her doom. Maybe he was her only chance at survival. The car roared through the twisting road, the night pressing close around them. The alien girl's heart pounded so hard she thought it would break. Behind them, the hunter's headlights still glared, like the eyes of beasts refusing to disappear. Her body shook with fear, yet her mind was even more restless. For so long she believed the human driver was her enemy. She had been certain he was leading her to her death. But now, she had seen it with her own eyes. He was not slowing down, not surrendering her. He was fighting to escape. And still, she could not fully believe. Her thoughts swirled in confusion. Why would a human risk himself for me? Why would he put his life in danger when it would be easier to betray me? The question tore at her. Everything she had been taught screamed that humans were selfish, cruel, and untrustworthy. But the man beside her was proving the opposite. Her eyes darted to him. His hands were steady on the wheel, his focus sharp. He looked like a soldier, but his fight was not for himself. Every turn, every sharp move was to keep her alive. That realization made her chest ache. The alien girl finally whispered, her voice trembling. Why are you doing this? The human did not answer. His jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing as he swerved hard to avoid another vehicle cutting across their path. His silence remained, but now she began to see the truth in it. He had no time for words. He was speaking through action. The alien girl sat back, gripping the edge of her seat. She forced herself to breathe deeply, to steady her racing thoughts. She wanted to fight the truth, but she could not deny it. He was risking everything for her. Another sudden danger came. One of the hunters' vehicles moved closer, pushing against them. Metal screamed as the cars scraped. The alien girl's fear spiked. She braced for impact, convinced this would be the end. But the human reacted. Instantly, his hand twisted the wheel, forcing their car sideways just enough to slam the enemy's vehicle into a tree. The crash echoed through the night. Sparks lit the darkness. The enemy car spun out, broken, but two more still followed behind. The alien girl gasped, staring at him in shock. He could have been killed in that move. Yet he didn't hesitate. He acted as though his life didn't matter, as long as she survived. Her throat tightened. The thought was unbearable. No human, no one, had ever risked this much for her. For the first time, she felt her anger weaken. Her suspicion, though still strong, began to crack. Maybe I was wrong about him. But trusting him was not easy. She fought inside herself, fear clashing with hope. What if this is still a trick? What if he is only pretending, waiting until I finally trust him? So, the betrayal will cut deeper? Her hand shook as she stared at the road ahead. She didn't want to believe him, yet she couldn't deny her eyes. The forest thinned for a moment, and she saw the sky open above them. Stars glittered cold and bright, reminding her of home. Her heart ached, but it also gave her strength. She wanted to survive. She wanted to believe survival was possible. The human pressed harder on the accelerator. His face was tense, sweat shining on his brow. He was pushing the car to its limits. But still he didn't look afraid. He looked determined. The alien girl leaned closer, her voice shaky but stronger this time. Why save me? You don't even know me. For the first time, he glanced at her for more than a second. His eyes met hers. There was no cruelty. No trick. Only something she had never expected to see in a human. Resolve mixed with quiet compassion. Still, he said nothing. He turned his gaze back to the road, leaving her with the silence. But this time the silence felt different. It was no longer a weapon. It was a promise. The alien girl swallowed hard. She felt her walls trembling, ready to fall. The test of trust was before her, and she knew she had to make a choice. Either she clung to her fear and suspicion, or she opened herself to the truth that this human was not her enemy. Another sharp turn came, the car skidding dangerously close to the edge of the road. The human fought the wheel, saving them from disaster. The alien girl grabbed the dashboard, her heart in her throat. In that moment, as the car straightened and sped forward again, she knew. If he had wanted to betray her, he would not have fought this hard. If he had wanted her dead, he would not have risked his own life over and over. His actions were louder than any lie. Her eyes softened, tears forming. She whispered so quietly that he might not even hear. I believe you. It was not much, but it was the first crack in her armor, the first step toward trust. The chase was not over. The danger was still behind them. But inside the car, something had changed. The alien girl no longer saw the human as only a threat. She began to see him as her protector, and that realization would change everything. The chase had stretched on, far longer than either of them expected. The car's engine roared with every desperate push of the pedal. Smoke curled from beneath the hood, the smell of burning oil filling the night air. The alien girl clutched the seat tightly, her eyes darting from the road ahead to the lights behind. The hunters were still there, relentless, unforgiving, and far too close. The human's face was pale in the dashboard light, his jaw tight, his eyes fixed forward. Every movement of his hands on the wheel was sharp and precise. Every decision measured in seconds. He drove not for himself but for her. The alien girl could see it now. There was no longer doubt in her mind. His actions screamed louder than any words could. Yet the danger was not fading. The hunters were pushing harder, drawing nearer. One of the enemy vehicles surged forward, bumping their rear bumper so hard that the alien girl nearly slammed into the dashboard. She cried out, but the human stayed steady, gripping the wheel with iron strength. "We can't outrun them," she whispered, her voice breaking. "They'll never stop." The human did not answer, but in his silence, she sensed something. He had already made a decision. Another turn loomed ahead, a sharp, narrow curve at the edge of a cliff. The road dropped steeply into blackness below. The alien girl's breath caught in her throat. One wrong move and they would both be gone. The human's eyes flicked to the mirror. The headlights behind grew larger, the hunters almost close enough to strike again. His lips pressed into a thin line. In that instant, his mind was clear. There was only one way to end this. He could not save himself, but he could save her. The alien girl noticed the shift in his gaze. It was subtle, but unmistakable. A calmness had replaced the tension, the kind of calmness that comes when a person accepts their fate. Her heart froze. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "No, don't you dare." But the human was already moving. His foot pressed down harder, pushing the car faster toward the deadly curve. The alien girl's eyes widened, terror flooding her veins. "He's going to kill us both." She reached for his arm, gripping it tightly. "Please, don't do this." For the first time, he looked at her fully. Not just a glance, but a long, steady look. His eyes burned with something she could not understand at first. Sorrow, yes, but also strength. A promise. "I'm not betraying you," he said softly, his voice low but clear. "I'm saving you." Her breath caught. Those were the first true words he had spoken since the journey began. They pierced through her fear like light through darkness. The human jerked the wheel hard, swerving into the curve with reckless speed. The alien girl screamed as the car skidded, tires screeching, against the pavement. Behind them, the hunters tried to follow, but the human had a plan. At the last second, he veered off the road toward a narrow dirt path that cut sharply through the trees. The car slammed against branches, metal groaning, sparks flying. The hunters, behind, unable to match the angle at that speed, crashed violently into one another. Their headlights exploded, their vehicles spinning out in chaos. But the human didn't slow down. The path was too narrow for the car to survive much longer. He knew this. He could feel the engine struggling, smell the smoke growing thicker. He knew the car would not last, but maybe she would. The dirt path ended suddenly at the edge of a hidden ravine. The alien girl's eyes widened in horror as the black drop opened before them. "Stop! You'll kill us!" she cried, clutching the seat. But the human had already chosen. At the last second, he slammed the brakes, throwing the car into a skid. The alien girl felt her body jerk forward violently. The human reached across, grabbing her arm with iron strength. "Go!" he shouted. His voice was raw, full of urgency. "Run!" Her eyes filled with tears. She shook her head wildly. "Not without you." But he pushed her, forcing the door open with one hand while holding the wheel with the other. His grip on her was strong, almost painful, but his gaze was steady. "This is the only way," he said, his voice steady even as the car shook under them. "You have to live." Her body shook as tears ran down her face. She wanted to fight him, to refuse to stay by his side, but she saw it in his eyes. He had already accepted his fate. With one final shove, he threw her out of the vehicle and into the grass at the edge of the ravine. She rolled across the ground, dirt scraping her skin, her lungs burning as she gasped for air. She lifted her head just in time to see the car lurch forward. The human locked eyes with her one last time. There was no fear in his gaze, only determination, only sacrifice. Then the car plunged forward into the darkness, vanishing into the ravine below. The crash echoed like thunder. Fire lit up the night for a brief, terrible moment. Then silence. The alien girl's scream tore through the forest, her voice breaking into sobs. Her body shook violently as she crawled toward the edge, her heart shattering. He was gone. The human who she thought would betray her had instead given everything to save her. Her tears fell fast, hot against her cheeks. She pressed her hands against the earth, shaking with grief and disbelief. In her heart, a new truth carved itself deep. Humans were not only dangerous, they were capable of sacrifice greater than she had ever known, and his choice had proved it. The night was quiet, again. Too quiet. The roar of engines and the crash of metal were gone, leaving only the soft whisper of the wind through the trees. The alien girl knelt at the edge of the ravine, her chest heaving, her hands trembling as tears streamed down her face. Below, flames flickered faintly in the darkness where the car had fallen. The smoke curled upward, disappearing into the stars. The human, the one she had feared, doubted, hated, was gone. He had given his life so she could live. Her throat ached as she tried to speak, but only broken whispers escaped. Why? Why would you do this for me? For so long she had believed humans were selfish. For so long she had thought betrayal was in their nature. And yet, the man who could have betrayed her, who could have saved himself, had chosen the opposite. He had chosen sacrifice. Her mind could not understand it, but her heart felt the truth. This was what made humans different. Not their strength, not their weapons, but their ability to give everything for someone else. The alien girl pressed her, hands to her chest. The pain was sharp, but inside that pain, something new was born. Respect, admiration, a fragile seed of trust that could not be taken away. The forest around her was silent, but she did not feel alone. She felt his presence lingering in the night, in the stars above, in the fire below. She remembered his eyes, steady and calm, filled not with cruelty but with courage. His final words echoed inside her. You have to live. And so she rose. Her legs trembled, her body weak, but she stood tall. She wiped her tears, though they kept falling. Each step away from the ravine was heavy, as if the earth itself tried to hold her in her grief. But she kept moving. She owed him that much. The hunters were gone for now. The crash had destroyed them as well. But she knew others might come. She knew her journey was not finished. And yet, she felt stronger than before, because now she carried his sacrifice with her. Every branch that cracked under her feet reminded her of his bravery. Every star above reminded her of his choice. She whispered softly to herself, I will not forget. I will carry this. Her people had been wrong. The stories told by her elders had been incomplete. Humans were not only destroyers, they were not only dangerous. They were something more, something greater. They were willing to risk everything for those they chose to protect. The alien girl stopped for a moment and looked back at the smoke rising from the ravine. Her heart tightened painfully. A part of her wished she had said more to him, that she had told him she believed him, that she had thanked him before it was too late. But maybe, she thought, he already knew. She closed her eyes, whispering into the night, Your choice will not be wasted. I will live. I will remember. The forest seemed to listen. The wind shifted gently, almost like a reply. Step by step, she moved forward again. Her path was uncertain. Danger would still come. But she was no longer the same frightened girl who had once believed every human was her enemy. She was different now, changed by one man's sacrifice. Her fear had turned into strength, her suspicion had turned into understanding, and her hate had turned into something unexpected. Hope. Because if one human could defy everything she believed, maybe others could too. As the night stretched on, the alien girl disappeared into the shadows of the forest, her tears drying, her heart carrying both grief and courage. She walked not as a prisoner, not as a victim, but as someone reborn, and though the man was gone, his spirit lived in her now. His sacrifice had given her more than life. It had given her a new truth. Humans were not just dangerous, they were not just unpredictable. They were capable of love, of loyalty, of sacrifice so deep it could change the fate of another being. The alien girl would never forget. She lifted her eyes to the stars once more. Among them, she imagined his light shining, guiding her through the darkness, her voice steady now carried into the night. Humans are truly special. And with that she kept walking, into a future shaped by the choice of one silent, courageous man.